Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. This is, I guess, the third week of Handshake AMAs, and we have hnssearch. So pretty excited. Obviously, the V2 coming out. So pretty excited to hear about that and what they have in store. If you guys want to ask any questions directly, like not in the voice chat, in case he's speaking at the moment, you can just drop a message inside the hnssearch project channel. It should just be a couple of channels above the AMA where we're in right now. So yeah, feel free to just drop any questions in there. And if you want to give an introduction to hnssearch and to yourself personally, yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Sure. First, let me know if you can hear me because I had problems with the mic all day.
Yeah, we can hear you. Perfect.
Perfect. So my name is Andy. Some of you probably saw me at HandyCon. I'm from Switzerland, running hnssearch at the moment and also developing hnssearch version 2. The first one was more like a proof of concept to show what is possible with search, and I wanted to provide kind of a Google clone and second search engine as opposed to the already existing YHNSOO, and I wanted to make it really based around Handshake websites. So yeah, currently I'm developing version 2, which is really a complete overhaul where the design stays approximately the same, but the crawler is completely new. More sites will be crawled, more content will be crawled. The search, how it will be not in a conventional sense that you have like the Google or the Bing style, but it will be search as you type, which I think is a modern twist on search because I think it provides you with a better search experience. So I think that's the main thing, like this search as you type. That's what I'm also focusing right now, and the new crawler coming with version 2, and of course. I just want to make like the implementation of search easier for also already existing websites, and to show how do you say to showcase new websites, plus to kind of also show if there are redirects or not, because currently most HNS sites are redirected to icon sites or just don't have good content on them, and I just want to also highlight that. Yeah, I think that's kind of the basic overview. I already see we have a question about the stats. Currently, what I can say is that our first crawler was not the most like thorough crawler. Now the version 2 of the crawler also kind of scrapes the root zone and goes from there. In the beginning, it was really like a basic web crawler where we used one website as the starting point and then went from there. So if you never linked your website or posted your website anywhere, we really couldn't find it. But now with version 2, the root zone is being crawled. We are in contact with Namebase where they could provide an API to the D-links, so we could crawl all of them. And that will, of course, be very helpful because right now D-links are a major part of the landscape in terms of stats. That's why the amount of current websites and SLDs is not very accurate. What I can say is that the search engine, we don't track individual users, but we have between 20 and 100. I know it's a big spectrum, but 20 and 100 search requests per day. We have some days where it spikes, but currently it's that low. But I think even for a like experimental website, that's not even that bad. Well, about the API, I mean, my idea when I approached Namebase for that was that they could that you could opt in or opt out whether you want it to be found. Right now, D-links are anyway used to share with other people. Like most people that create a D-link want it to be found. And my idea was like with a robots.txt file where you can just opt in or out whether you want it to be found. But for example, on the current website we run, like we have a report missing sites page, and most sites that are being reported are right now D-links. So I think that people do want it to be found. Of course, like I say, I think it is definitely necessary that you can opt out if you want to keep it private. But like I said, I've been in talks with Namebase for this for already 2, even 3 months, and they say it's on their schedule, but it's just not priority number 1, which I can totally understand. Let's see here. So yeah, V2, I've been working on it a lot, but then I kind of had to take a break due to a unforeseen accident, and now I've been slowly picking it up again. One major thing which is also coming is Block Explorer integration, where you will be able to search for a name or a transaction, and you get the information right there in the search results. So therefore, it's kind of a combination between Block Explorer and search engine, because I kind of want to have one front page or one page where you can get your information. So Kiba, you asked what are some specific features for HNS sites? You mean for people that host sites, or you mean for the how we crawl the sites?
Kind of both, just in general. Like, I think you had some things that showed redirects, like HNS sites that were just redirecting to normal ICANN domains and things like that. Really just anything related to Handshake domains specifically that are added in the UI.
Well, so for sure, yeah. The first thing I really want to highlight is when a site is redirected to an ICANN site, I want to kind of put the disclaimer there, and to also not flag it, but to just so you can see that you will be redirected to an ICANN site. I really want to have the first search results based on HNS type of sites, which are really hosted.
Just a quick note for people, Fistful of Asks is going to be recording this AMA. So just so everyone's aware that I think your voice will be recorded, but nothing in the chat or anything. Maybe Fistful of Asks can just clarify exactly what's being recorded.
Great. My headset just decided not to work anymore. What was the last thing you heard? Sorry for that.
Last thing I think was you had just finished talking about the Handshake specific site features.
Exactly. Well, just going also into SEO, I hope you heard some part of it where I just said that with search as you type, it's really important that you have good content on the website, as the search results are highly dependent on the text description or the title of your website. because I want to kind of promote good content on other websites, not like keyword stacking or just for you to write an awesome description and then just disregard the content. All right. So let's see some other questions. I was asked to also read the question. That's a good point. Thank you. So a lot of, if not most of names hosted on Simpapellas have a low, if none traffic. Thank you for crawling those sites, have some access. Thank you for that. I believe that a lot of users are happy to know someone has found their content. Exactly. I think that also goes into what I said in the beginning, also with D-links, because many people try to build their site, but they really are difficult to be found. That's why I think also the report missing sites link in the beginning is very important, because people search for their websites or their name first when it comes to a search engine. So therefore they will also notice first when their site is not indexed. And I think that also ties into your question, like what are some ways the HNS community can help? I think, well, beta testing is of course one thing. Once V2 is out, I'm glad to share the development website. But I also think just report missing sites, not just your own, but if you know of a site or something you want to share, just report them. So far, we've had already 690 sites reported by the community, which is, I think, quite a nice number, because it also shows that people are trying to find some content. And in general, I mean, the support of the community has been amazing anyway, by just sharing or like taking part in the polls, which I sometimes host on Twitter. Which we had one poll which really surprised me, like about pagination versus infinite scroll, and actually pagination won, where I thought that maybe infinite scroll would be more popular, but yeah, pagination won. But I can see the appeal. I think maybe for mobile, infinite scroll has some appeal, but I guess when people try to search something, they prefer having the fixed size. Did Google make an offer already? I guess that's probably more like a joke question, but I was approached by some people that were interested in hnssearch. I think we can hear you in the back. Exactly. Thank you. I was approached by already some people about hnssearch, but I'm really developing it also for the community. That's also why V2 will be open source, and all the code, crawler, and even the site index will be publicly available. That's also why it takes a bit longer to get out there, because if analyzing the code of V1, there is a lot of like redundancy and a bit of a mess in the code. And for V2 to be released and then also to be open source, I kind of want it to be cleaned up and understandable. But like I said, V1 was really more a proof of concept, also to see if it meets the standards of the community. So can you describe your ranking algorithm a bit? Yes. So currently ranking is based on the description, the title. So first it's a matching of the content, of course, and then there is some logic which identifies how popular a site is based on not only clicks but also backlinks that we also crawl. So right now it's really just content, backlinks, and how often a link has been been clicked, but with V2 that will be kind of overthrown because, as I said, search as you type really focuses on the content. One of the nice things how I'm implementing search as you type is it is also somewhat resistant to typing errors. So if you for example search handshake and you forgot the H, it still should provide you with reasonable search results, because right now if you make grammatical mistakes there are almost no results, and that should be a bit mitigated, especially if you write a sentence like how can I buy handshake domains and you make one mistake in the current crawler. This can already lead to some problems, and in the new website that will be mitigated. Then for the what's on the roadmap for core improvements, like I said, search as you type, but probably you're already tired of hearing that because that said it many times. What definitely will come is the new crawler is also able to crawl content. So not only the description of a website, but the actual text, tables, and other stuff. So this also makes, of course, the search more accurate. The marking of redirects, the highlighting of redirects, and I want to also implement that websites that offer or redirect to a HTTPS site are also marked, like with maybe a log sign, just so you know, and also to kind of promote people to use Dane or to implement it. I think for the core app, well, once it goes into beta, really search as you type, the more content, the redirects will be already implemented, some website shortcuts as well. Block Explorer integration, I will push back a little bit just to already be able to push the site to you guys so you can try it, maybe force it into its knees. It should be more performant than the current version, just how it's built and how it's hosted. So I hope that there we can also make some improvements. But I think the core is really the open source nature, the hosting on Saya and Akash, search as you type, and just the overall more included websites. And maybe for that, the new crawler is already crawling, so it's already gathering websites, but I kind of on purpose am not feeding it into the current build just because I'm still testing the crawler. But there will be definitely a higher amount of websites crawled. And also one of the improvements so far, even though most websites don't provide one, the new crawler also can read sitemaps and finally respects the robots.txt file, because the first one was quite rudimentary and didn't really care too much about that. And I think as we move further into more developed websites, like sitemaps will definitely become a thing that are also provided, and that will of course improve the crawling quality as well. Let's see. Well, I can, if there are no questions so far, I can go a bit more into some of the thinking with V2. Right now, when you search on hnssearch, you have the option of choosing open with hns.2, or if you want to open it directly with the HNS handle. And I'm right now still debating or thinking thinking whether to remove that option and to just kind of gather the URL and see how the site is being opened. So if you open it via the gateway, that the next website will open within the gateway as well. But I'm not fully sure yet if I should remove this option or not. But I think it would make the search results and the whole website a bit more streamlined if you don't really have to think how you open the next website, like the website itself checks how you opened hnssearch immediately. One thing I will say where I'm still struggling is like the trailing dot, because on some of my test machines the sites open with the trailing dot, on some not, and that makes it extremely hard if it's a single domain. Like if it's with second level domain, it's not a problem, but with single domains, it's really a problem because I kind of have to choose whether I use the trailing dot or not. And that really is still a headache, which I haven't fully figured out how to work around that. So one feedback already received is definitely keep the gateway option. I think I will also run kind of a poll on Twitter, but of course I'm very grateful for any kind of input on that to whether to keep it, whether or not, because yeah, on one hand I want to promote people to use a resolver and to kind of live the handshake life, but on the other hand, I also want to make it easy for newcomers to use the search engine, because it also can be an entry point for people that have never heard of HNS. Because what I noticed is on the chat groups, often newcomers, they ask, are there websites? How can I find them? And usually they haven't set up the resolver or anything like that. So maybe the gateway is not the worst option right now. Though, like I said, I wouldn't completely cut it out. It would be really just implemented based on how you opened the website. Thank you for the tip with the www dot. I will definitely try that. Yeah, exactly. About we really need a consensus with the trailing dot, but personally, I really don't know. I haven't. I need to dive deeper into it to really understand why it behaves here. I honestly am not the best authority on that. See. Yeah, exactly. I also agree, like, community still needs to get some deeper experience into exactly why it works differently across machines. Exactly, I also agree. And I definitely think that there is some work to do there, because this is definitely an issue we should solve before we go mainstream, or before handshake domains become mainstream. How, Kiba asked, how do you think blockchain distributed systems change the role of search engines on the internet? Well, I think they offer on one hand, well, let's just look at Handshake firstly. They offer one very nice advantage, that is that the base information is on the root zone. So, for example, for crawling the root zone, just the domains, it's very easy to do because you have all the information on the blockchain. But of course, there are also some challenges, because I think that in general, especially with Handshake, the SLDs are not registered, or not on the chain itself. So sometimes it's really difficult to find those. So I think the advantage we have is that some of them are on chain, so I can definitely find all active TLDs, and from there I can also further crawl whether there are SLDs. But I think that they also bring new challenges with them. Let me think also a bit to give you maybe a bit better answer. But I also think that maybe these systems, they also they try to promote privacy, and I think that it is really a balance between what do you want to index, what do you want to show online, and what not. As a search engine, of course, my goal is to index as much as I can to provide you with the most information I can. But then on the other hand, it's quite risky if you want to have a website which you don't want to be crawled or not to be shown. So I think it's really a balance between what do you want to show and what not. And I think as a provider of search results, it's also a delicate subject where I should respect the privacy, as we had before the comment about D-links, and if Namebase would offer an API. And yeah, maybe if we have this question, can domain owners opt out of being indexed? Exactly. Right now, it's not implemented yet because, as I said, the crawler is rather basic. But V2 already respects the robots.txt because, like I said, I think that's going forward very important. And if we're already on the subject of privacy, tracking is even reduced more, whereas we really don't track anything on the site. We so far just track the search queries with an open source option, but even that I think will go away in the future because I really want to make an open search engine that is for everyone. What are your thoughts about indexing other types of blockchain domains someday? Of course, I'm always open to index more and more sites. Right now, of course, the name is kind of a given. It's hnssearch, but my goal would be, of course, to broaden like what I crawl, and maybe one day even to offer a full search engine. But I think right now what we really need is a search engine just for HNS. And maybe in the future, for sure, if I would start opening up, I would definitely start with other blockchain-based domain systems and not just go into ICANN mode, because I think that would overwhelm the system. Plus, I don't think that it's really necessary. There are other search engines that do that already. But I'm of course open to index other blockchains. Then I'm just not sure whether to prioritize HNS domains or to still just go with the content. In theory, it should be fine to find all SLDs of ETH names. Yeah, definitely. Everything that is on chain, if it is connected to a Handshake or like with .badass, is I can find. And I mean the SLDs right now that SLD sales are opened is also got also easier to some extent because I can track which SLDs have been sold, even though most of them are not in use yet. It'd be interesting if people use TLDs to create a sitemap of all SLDs registered to it. That makes it definitely. That would, of course, make the job of our crawler much easier if the sitemap would already provide the SLDs which are under that main domain. But I also don't know if the problem is also that, for example, if you host your own SLDs, like if you do shop dot something, then you have an interest to find it. But I don't know how it is if you're a registrar, if it's really in your interest or if you want those domains to be found. I haven't really put much thought into it, but I think if you host your SLDs yourself or you use them yourself, probably your interest is bigger in them being found than when you just offer it for sale. But maybe I'm wrong. I haven't really thought too much about it. But of course, what our crawler definitely also does is as soon as someone, well, V2, I'm talking a lot about V2 because that's what I'm currently working on. What V2 also does is we don't track necessarily the web, like the people that do search queries. What we do get is the search queries themselves, and based on that, we then, what the crawler then tries to automatically see if there is a TLD or an SLD that is related to that search query. Maybe additionally to search queries, what I can say is currently the most search queries that we get are one or maximum two, like two search query words. So sentences like you would see on Google are really hardly ever used. So most people don't search for how can I buy handshake domains. They just search for handshake domains or buy handshake or something like that. What's the most popular search term? I can tell you that. Second. For a long time, believe it or not, it was flip-flops. I think it was it was because of the HandyCon presentation, but flip-flops was for a very long time the most searched term, interestingly enough. Let me well, one of the most searched terms is block height. I think that's just because if you search block height on the search engine, you actually get the block height of the chain. Flip-flop still up there, and maybe that will make you smile, but Sin Papeles is also in the top 5. And the shake as well. But I think it comes down to like popularity also on Twitter, or when someone mentions something on Twitter, that's just when it specific search terms spike. For some time, Bitcoin was one of the most searched terms. We stopped tracking geographic location a while back, but when it was at the peak, the main traffic came from the US and Canada. And then and Germany was also in the lead. But the US was by far, they had like 40 to 50% search volume. But right now we don't track it anymore. Because like I said, I want to focus on the privacy aspect, even though we don't we never linked the IP to the search query, so I could have never connected someone. Of course, if someone goes and searches their name, then it's quite obvious who it was, but I never really tried to make any connections. And in general, I really don't look too much at the specs. I use them really to improve the crawler or to improve the search results. And for V2, I'm even thinking of not implementing it at all. Though I have received some requests from people to provide some stats, just also to see how it grows. But I'm still debating it. So yeah, some of the features that I also want to implement in the future, like I want to implement some, well, they're not really Easter eggs, but some hidden things like the block height, where you can search the block height. What I'm also developing is if you search for a cryptocurrency, it shows you the current price. I would love to crawl news articles about Handshake, though there I would have to resort also to ICANN hosted websites, because the news outlets so far are rather limited for Handshake sites. But I think it could also provide some insight into what is happening. I definitely want to build on the shortcut system which we have already, where you can use exclamation point and then enter, for example, the shortcut for a website and search that website directly. So if it's not it's not a Handshake site, but if you put exclamation point NB for name base and then search a name, it automatically searches on name base. And we have currently like 9 or 10 shortcuts, like Simpa Palace. All major block explorers are integrated, and I definitely want to build on that, because I think it also helps the integration of the search engine into websites. I'm very grateful that all HNS, for example, already has the search bar integrated of HNS search, because we do get about 15-20% of the search results from there. But I think it also helps because right now you cannot find everything you're looking for on HNS search, especially because it only crawls HNS domains. I think the shortcuts are very useful, and from the feedback I received and also from what I'm reading here in the chat, I really think they are cool, and of course they're kind of copied from DuckDuckGo with their system, but I really think it's a smart thing to open up the search engine to also other uses. Definitely with V2, I will offer a drop-down menu where you actually see which shortcuts are available, because right now, if you put it, you have no way of knowing. If you don't know, you will not guess that you can use these shortcuts, and you have not even an idea that they exist and which ones exist. Paid results, question mark. Well, so far, and I think also for the future, since I want to open source the whole project, I'm not really thinking about monetizing the site, not with ads, or also not with putting people higher up on the like ranking, because just I think I want to really promote people that put good content out, that work for the community, that actually really create some amazing websites, and that are also like get what they deserve based on of the traffic. Plus, right now, not that it matters too much, but most specific searches are not really worth like monetizing. There are very few keywords where it would be even competitive to offer ads or paid results. But just in general, I'm not thinking about monetizing it because I'm building it for the community. I really want us in the ecosystem to have, well, the best experience we can have in terms of search. And I don't want to block also like development and the whole ecosystem by having kind of pay as you, or win as you pay, or pay to win. Now I found the correct expression, sorry. Plus, like I already said, when you asked about if Google already made an offer, of course, not Google made an offer, but I had some some interest in people that were just interested in buying the crawler, that were interested in buying the website, or that were interested in just collaborating, but just also funding hnssearch. And I'm also always open for collaboration. I don't like to take money for it or to charge for it, because I think if you have a great idea, just come up to me and we can see. The roadmap is very flexible. It is very long. I have a very long list of features I would love to implement. But I think overall, well, bribery, how about bribery? Well, everyone has a price. No, I mean, I think it's really, I mean, of course, it's nice if people want to offer money or something. But right now, really, also, I enjoy working on it. Of course, I was already approached about uh, grants, and I'm not against it. I do put a lot of hours before work, after work into the site, but I just think that I don't want it to be like a monetized project where we provide something in return for payment, in the sense that you have then full control of the site, because I really want to leave it in the hands of the community. And I also understand that by open sourcing it, like the crawler, the index list, I'm also maybe helping future search engines. And of course, I would love to see also other search engines for HNS search, not to just crowd or pollute the space, but just to help with adoption. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about payments, but I think definitely ads. I will not ads and pay for results will not be implemented, and bribes also not really accepted. But I think if you have a good idea or you create good content, you shouldn't be worried about ranking on top right now. And as we are still in the early market, you definitely have this early mover advantage. Pay to customize your site's display when it shows up. Well, as we crawl, also the description, and the description will always be prioritized over the content of the website. You kind of already have some flexibility of how we portray your website. The title is a given, the domain is a given, but the description you can influence, if that goes into the direction of your question, Kiba. But I'm not sure, maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes to my question. I was thinking of like other ways that you can, like doing the pay to play, pay to win. So basically, instead of people paying to have their site come at the top of the list, they would just pay to have it be customized design, which may attract more users versus someone that doesn't have customized design. So then you aren't specifically like forcing people to pick different websites, but you're allowing kind of like the market to decide, if that makes sense. Yeah, just an idea.
Definitely. No, I think that does make sense. I think big thing will definitely be the, like I said, the description. And as with Google, what I'm also implementing is that if you format the description in a certain way, it will also show up in a certain way. For example, as you can see already on Google, if you search for some establishments and they show the opening hours, you can influence how this is portrayed, and that will definitely be implemented. But I think this will be also a kind of a free feature, because I think the people that do take the time to find out or figure out how they can implement such a format or to improve that kind of already deserve to be higher up. But like I said, I'm not fully closed to any of the ideas. I just think that ads, for example, are right now just not the best thing to do. So let's see, will there be an option to submit stuff that helps you get crawling data like our sitemaps directly to you in order to get the boost in the SEO for those sites? I haven't really thought about that, but that could potentially be something interesting when you are rewarded for making it easier to be found. But I think then it should be really clear what the criteria is, because what I don't want to create is like this alternative SEO market where everyone thinks they have the inside scoop and they try to then sell you the latest information because only they have figured it out. Not to downgrade any of the SEO specialists, but I just think transparency is key here. I could imagine to reward you if you make it easier or if you provide more information that I can work with, definitely. But I would for sure make the information on how to use that publicly available and not kind of hidden, or you need to figure it out. And if you figured it out, you can benefit off of that just by itself. Because I do think even if it's public information, not everyone will do it, because people just don't want, or they're too lazy, or they don't have the time. So let's see, could you parse schema.org metadata and surface that into for different cross-site browsing use cases like product shopping, looking up and contact information, wallet addresses, etc.? Google has done some of this, but has flip-flopped on what use cases are supported and how it impacts ranking, which is a mess. It disincentivizes site owners publishing open data. Well, I do believe, if I understood the question correct, if not, just correct me, I'm all for promoting openness, and schema.org is kind of what I was also referring before, where you kind of can influence how the search results are portrayed. And I think that definitely I would love to implement that. And that's also on the roadmap. But maybe I didn't answer your question fully. But of course, the example that is given, example, search a name that is available on parking.sin.palace, and we could see the price and contact link. If you format it like this, or I could create, of course, a submission form where you could submit how you would like it to be portrayed, that could definitely be done. I definitely like this idea because I think especially for the parking .synpapel site, it's rather difficult for the crawler to have a standard to what to show, and usually the information in the description or on the content is not that super detailed. So I think that offering something like that would for sure make the experience better. Also, I think what could be implemented if wished is that it also shows, for example, the Naomi score. I'm in close contact with Stefan from Naomi, and we could implement also something like that where you could see the potential if you search, for example, a name that is not active yet. So if you own a domain name which is not an active TLD, I could imagine offering this like domain score together with the blockchain information, as I mentioned in the beginning, where a block explorer will be included or implemented. When you search for a name, you can get the name information on chain, and you could potentially see the name score. Because like I said, it's also really about connecting the whole ecosystem, and also what I'm trying to do with hosting by hosting it on Sia and Akash is to bring this DWeb community together and to show that you can also build great projects on it and to showcase them. Or, for example, one idea, I think we discussed it already some time back, Kiba, where when someone searches for an unclaimed name, like if you search, for example, for Apple and Apple hasn't claimed it, it kind of asks whether it's your domain. For example, Apple may not be the best example, but someone has a lesser known domain and searches it and then sees that he actually can still claim it. I think support for unconfigured park domains, or not even claimed or not auctioned domains, is definitely also on the roadmap, and something I want to incorporate also to improve and increase the visibility of everything on chain. Because in the end, it's one big project and community, and I think we should bring all aspects together. Plus, I do believe that search engines are definitely necessary for the adoption. Maybe going back to the question how blockchain and the whole ecosystem influences it. Yeah, we will have to see if domains or websites is really the only use case where a search engine can offer help or provide some functionality. But we will have to see. I think when we look at Saya with their global login, where you can also track where it's been used or not, this could of course also be implemented, that if you tie this to your handshake domain, that you could gather some information. But it is really a balance between privacy and just going too deep or abstracting everything too much. But definitely, if you have ideas now, this channel exists here, so you can always drop your questions, your input, anything you like to you'd like to know about progress. I will now keep you updated more often as we move closer to the beta testing, where you can also be a part of. And I'm always happy for feedback. Already for V1, the feedback on the testing phase was amazing, and we got really a lot of bugs fixed. And I definitely appreciate all the input, and also that you still accept that there are some flaws and some bugs in the system, as it is still under development. I also do have a development board, or had the development board, which has been taken down because the service has been terminated. But I definitely will put one up again, and we already got some amazing suggestions there, where out of, I think, 10 or 12 suggestions, the top 4 were implemented even before the release, and then 3 further were implemented at a later point. One thing I will say, right now, V1 offers site and image results, but as the image results are rather limited, I will still crawl them, but in the beginning they might not be available. I will have to decide that closer to launch, because there were just really a lot of emojis and just site logos which showed up in the image results, and I got a lot of feedback that the image results were just not very useful, or just didn't provide any use. Additionally, in the current version, the performance is not very high for image search, but with the new approach, the new code base, I also switched from a PHP approach to a JavaScript, where the whole app is now written in React. So the performance is definitely increased there, or should be increased. This first testing proved to be very promising. Just the design is not done at all. That's why I'm also not sharing any screenshots at the moment, because right now it's just search bar, which shows the results. I haven't done any of the styling. We do index React sites. The question was, do you index React sites or sites without server-side rendering? They are indexed, but some of them are currently without. If they don't have a description, content is not being crawled. But with the new crawler, they are. I have a branch of the crawler running, which renders the websites and then gets the information, because a lot of websites are being made with React or with some other framework, and they should definitely be included, especially in 2021. But also here, the crawler is still being developed. I am implementing some machine learning aspects where the crawler is learning by crawling more, because of course I stumble upon some ICANN sites as well when I crawl. Plus, Twitter is still a very good source for handshake domains. So the crawler should improve over time, get faster, and contrary to how it works now, should update the search results daily, if not more often. Right now, it's less, because with V1, which will hopefully soon be fully retired, I still have to go through some stuff manually to clean out some of the websites that slip through or that just don't function correctly. Yeah, I've been talking for an hour now. I don't know if you're already tired of listening to me or if you have more questions. I'll be happy to answer more questions if anyone would like to know something else. Otherwise, I'm always open for questions in this channel or on Telegram or on Twitter. You can always hit me up. I really I love the community interactions, and I really love to hear your creative ideas. I would say most or a lot of the features that are implemented come from the community or were developed in combination with someone from the community. I see now we really get into the portion of the ask me anything. I think I already said that at HandyCon, but I am actually married and already have a son, which also keeps me on my toes. And I also try to spend as much time with him. That's why usually I work at night or just in the early hours before my day job on hnssearch. Currently, I'm not looking for anyone new. I'm happily married, and we are definitely going strong in our marriage, and it's actually going very well. And my wife is also very supportive of my endeavor here in the HNS community. I see a handshake Tinder coming. Well, I also think that it's long due to have a have such a service. I'm actually surprised that no one has started to build one. What is your top location pick for HandyCon 1? That's very difficult as I can see that we have a lot of members in the community from the US, but as I also noticed, we have a lot of people in Europe. So I would, of course, coming from Europe, also like it very much if we would do it somewhere like Europe. But of course, I also love going to the US. Been there a couple of times on holidays, and so I wouldn't mind flying over there.
Like what specific place in Europe? Like pick a city.
I don't know. I think Amsterdam would be quite fun, probably. Just at the top of my head, that specific location. Though Barcelona, like Spain, would also be nice. I wouldn't suggest Switzerland because everything is quite expensive and at very close quarters. But Amsterdam, I could definitely see. Plus, I haven't been there in a while, and I wouldn't mind going. But though Berlin also is a very, very nice location. Let's meet in the middle. Yeah, we could rent some floating ferry or something and just meet there, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know if you have any more questions. I apologize. I was asked in the name-based Discord if I'll be using a vocal coder. I'm sorry I couldn't provide that in terms of quality. Just had to put up with my normal voice, but I hope you still got some information out of it. So yeah, if there are more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I don't know if you want to stop it here without me rambling on about life and everything else.
Yeah, I think now is a good time to. And yeah, as you said, the hnssearch channel that we've been talking for this AMA is always open. So anytime you want to come in and ask him questions, feel free. And yeah, thanks everyone for showing up and all the awesome questions as always. And for just taking your time to come enjoy the Handshake community because we're all so awesome. So thanks you guys. Anyone else just like final questions before we all head out? Cool. Well, the next AMA is in another 2 weeks, so June 28th. And this is like the last, next week, or in 2 weeks, will be the last AMA in this kind of series, I guess. There's definitely going to be more, but I will maybe look at changing the time just to get different people from different time zones in or whatever. So I'll put up a poll probably next week or in 2 weeks. Definitely before the next AMA comes out, just to see what everyone's thoughts are on changing the time, if it works for different time zones or whatever. And also, you guys can vote on who you guys want the AMAs to be next. So yeah, that's just like updates on the overall, I guess, AMA series. And yeah, thanks everyone. Feel free to keep hanging out if you want, but I also have to go. So yeah, have a good day.
Yes, also from me, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing your questions, and thank you for the awesome, interesting questions. And I hope I was able to provide you with all the answers. And also thank you for, of course, the awesome community. It's really a pleasure to be here.